Hi folks, this is not about Bernie's accomplishments. You can read about those in the About Bernie text section of this site. This is about Bernie and my beginnings in the sport. It's about how I grew up in Syosset, Long Island, and how I became a horseman. I'm going to take you back to my first trail ride at 11 years old on a lead line with my mom on a rental horse. I didn't have a horse background. My family was middle class and we were not horse people. But my mom had a passion for horses, so my dad put up a prefab two-car garage in the backyard, turned it into a stable, and we purchased a sort of prehistoric-looking roan horse called Rusty for $600, who happened by chance to be a really good jumper. We all took care of Rusty ourselves. It was kind of a ma and pa thing, and we all took turns riding him. I used to trail ride to my first summer job, mucking stalls for a local stable, and someone there suggested I join the Meadowbrook Pony Club. That organization, I'm sure, was responsible for heading me in the right direction in the sport. The rallies were fun. I got the chance to go to England as a groom for the US pony team, and the overall knowledge I gained was incredible. Sarah Kavanaugh Schwartz, the sister of the DC, took an interest in me and would come and give me some very valuable weekly dressage lessons that, unknowingly at the time, were to be a real asset for me later in life when I took up the dressage sport. Rusty took me through Pony Club and some small jumper and equitation classes in the local shows, and as well as things were going with him, they took a turn for the worst when my dad bought a green thoroughbred horse for $900 without the advice of a professional, and we got a high-headed, strong turkey. After a few frustrating months with this horse, my dad did a brilliant thing. He heard about a famous Russian trainer, Captain Vladimir Litauer, who lived in the same town as we did, and approached him at a horse show and asked if he would be interested to give me lessons at our place with this difficult horse. He agreed to come and check me out, and after working with me twice, took me on as a student. We worked together hard with this stargazer, and after 3 months, he advised us to trade him in on a better one. He was good friends with Harry Dallaire, who some of you may remember had the famous white horse called Snowman, and asked Harry for a special favor. I need a good horse for this boy. So Harry sent me Troublemaker on trial for a week and agreed to take my stargazer and trade plus $1,100. Now, at the young age of 14, we were back on track, or at least I thought so. Riding didn't come easy for me, and I had to practice hard. Troublemaker was a green, sensitive type, and in our beginnings, he had a tendency to overjump, which made it a bit hard to stay in the tack. He also wanted a very accurate ride and wasn't shy about telling you if you missed. But over time, our partnership solidified, and these tendencies turned into an asset for me in our equitation ride-offs, especially when we were asked to change horses and jump the same course without stirrups. Litauer would come to our place once every 2 weeks to train me and give me homework. He expected me to work hard on the projects he gave me and wasn't very fond of repeating himself. He rarely went to horse shows, but always wanted a full report Sunday night. Not what ribbons I won, but how the horse was progressing and how I rode. Troublemaker and I had our ups and downs, but generally things were progressing quite well with my riding under Litauer, especially in the equitation division. The hunter division always drove my dad crazy because my eye wasn't always so reliable, and for about a year I nearly always managed to screw up a great round and chip the last fence. I think things started to really come together for me when I was 15 and a half and placed 6th and 8th in the Medal and Maclay finals. But I'll never forget the Medal and Maclay finals the next year in the old Madison Square Garden at 16 with Troublemaker, my mom, dad, and coach for one day. In those days, the finals went back-to-back on the same weekend. My dad shipped in the horse. My mom finally agreed to hire a braider, thank God, although her braiding did improve over time. Litauer was there, of course, Saturday to help me. After my medal win, riding down the elevator with him, he looked at me and said in his deep Russian voice, Congratulations, Bernie, and please don't forget to call me tomorrow night and let me know how you do in the Maclay. I think winning the Maclay on our own was one of the biggest tests of my life, and maybe he planned it. But he was a master at preparation. Now Littauer felt it was time to teach me his program for the complete training of a dead green horse for the hunter division. He knew Frank Chapot well and asked him for a nice prospect right off the racetrack, and we bought a very nice type thoroughbred from Frank for $1,600 called Gimlet. 1 year later, through Littauer's program, we had produced quite a well-trained horse who was winning in the first-year division, and I had learned firsthand a valuable system of training that stuck with me my whole life. We sold that horse for a profit, and that was my first experience making money in the horse business. Now it was time to direct my training toward the jumper division. So again, he asked Frank Chapot for a good one. And Frank sold me Gay Harmony, a mare that he had shown all over Europe as his second horse on the team for the incredible price of $1,800. I can't imagine what that horse would be worth today as a first Grand Prix horse for an amateur. Well, I was now approaching 18. My dad was pushing for me to go to college, of course, and I was pushing hard not to. I really wanted to be a professional horseman. Littauer knew Bill Steinkraus well and invited him, my dad, and me for dinner to discuss an idea he had to resolve the situation. In those days, the U.S. show jumping and eventing team trained at Gladstone, New Jersey, and horses were donated by various people for the team to train with and represent our country. Bill Steinkraus, captain of the show jumping team, said he could get me a spot riding the event horses under the watchful eye of the coach, Stefan von Vichy. Well, that opportunity seemed to satisfy my dad, as it would substitute as a college education directed toward the career I wanted. Music to my ears. So Gay Harmony was sold to California and went on after her retirement to make lots of great babies. And Frank Chapot took me in as a working student, and for some time I was commuting between Frank's place and the team in Gladstone on a daily basis and working for a small animal vet part-time. My eventing career ended abruptly when, after qualifying for the Olympic Games, my horse bowed a tendon 1 week prior to shipping. And I moved on to the show jumping squad and had the opportunity to train with the incredible Bert Denemeth for several months, which really put the icing on the cake. Now came the reality of sustaining myself, so I had to move on to the professional world. And I was offered an opportunity to work for Mike Smithwick, the top steeplechase trainer in the industry, and jumped on that. Mike was as good a horseman as it gets, and the experience I gained there was invaluable. Racing wasn't really in my heart, especially the racetrack hours. So after 9 months, I began my career in the hunter-jumper industry at the early age of 21. The rest is history. If I could advise young people starting out in the sport, I would encourage them to focus more on horsemanship, something we all need to promote. Take the time when you can to apprentice with a top horseman. I'm happy to see the USHJA implement the trainer certification program, a great step to making better horsemen. I wouldn't trade the hands-on experiences I've had for anything.